Welcome inside another edition of Celtics Roundtable on CLNS Media. CLNS Media, the leading online provider of audio-video coverage of your Boston Celtics. Welcome inside, everybody. A Tuesday tirade edition coming at you here morning after a preseason game, the third in a four-game little preseason. Celtics win 113-96. Evan Valenti alongside Matt Ignal and our man Zaire. On Tuesday Tirade Edition. So basically, if you haven't been tuning in, you're getting back with us as we get ready for the regular season. Each day is sort of segmented. Today is kind of reserved for like hot takes, overreactions, things that we can kind of walk out on a ledge on, and then we reel you back in eventually to try and get to the middle of what it probably is. But after what has been a pretty impressive preseason, and I'll throw a friend of the program, Jared Weiss, a little shout out here. He told us after Vegas that Terry Rozier might be a different player. He wrote a piece on it back in August. And Terry Rozier, guys, has been absolutely sensational. He capped it off with this latest game, this latest gem for him, where he had 15 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. It was just a nightmare for everybody. Terry Rozier, I'm not going to lie, I've been a little hesitant on him. I know I lost a bet, and I have to eat a Rozier sandwich on this show eventually. But, man, I got to tell you, last night was super impressive from Rozier. I mean, you got to see him play like a big stretch of minutes for what feels like the first time in a long time. He's definitely a much improved player.
It's the ball handling, I think. I mean, we know he can rebound. We know he's got like the floater game, but he showed real proficiency in dancing with the ball a little bit, going by guys pretty consistently. That's at least what I've noticed. I thought he made strides last year. With his defense especially, but his handle was always a little bit suspect. It looks certainly better in this small sample size so far this year, and we've heard how hard Terry Rozier works, so I don't think it's too surprising, but it is nice to see.
Being able to knock down jumpers, man, you guys know that's my thing. And being able to score, however way you score, if you're a shooter, if you're a driver, whatever, being able to do that is very important. I am impressed with what he did tonight, especially. He could have went willy-nilly like some players did, but he kept it in a good pocket. And the rebounding, I'm just impressed. I'm impressed with the rebounding. I mean, I always hear about how good of a rebounder he is, and the fact that we saw what Avery was able to do, and if he can take what Avery did and build upon that, that would be so helpful for the Celtics. So, and it would bring some normalcy back, to a team that has a lot of new cogs. So, I usually am the one who complains about Rozier and Smart. I've called Rozier a D-leaguer in the past. There's no more D-league, so we're gonna have a clean slate. We're gonna have a clean slate right now. I'm gonna say, Terry Rozier, you have the opportunity to win me over. I'm going to forget all of the things that I said in the past.
Yeah, Rozier, I'll agree with the open shot thing. I think Rozier is a much more stable, open jump shooter, and the confidence is oozing. But I think the fact that he can drive into the lane now and do it under control is, I think, the biggest development for him, because how many times have you watched him get in the lane, he'll try and do something, and he'll lose control of the basketball, rolls to the floor, and the other team gets out in transition for like a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1 or a 2-on-no break. Like, it's just the control and the pace at now which he plays at cannot be understated. The fact that this guy is a super athlete by nature anyway, spectacular athlete. The rebounding thing, I mean, he jumps out of the gym when he goes for rebounds, but the fact that he can control the pace of the game, control that end of the floor, run a half-court offense, but again, push and transition. There's so many different evolutions of Terry Rozier that have all happened in just one summer. Like, he went from a guy that was really clumsy and couldn't hit an open jump shot to a slightly better jump shooter last year. A guy still clumsy, was starting to kind of rebound a little bit, and now you have a full-fledged player. And I know a lot of us, and I'll probably throw myself in that ring, like, why didn't we trade for Serge Ibaka? All it would have cost to Terry Rozier. Well, Terry Rozier seems to be a really nice player, and Serge Ibaka is not getting anybody over the hump right now. So I'll concede once again to Danny Ainge. I tend to do that a lot.
The proof will be in the pudding in January. Like, that's I think when we sit here in January and it's cold outside and Terry Rozier is playing a game against a team that may be like under 500, just seeing how he handles that, how he handles his more demanding role that he ever had in his career. It's going to be very important this year. And I'm just interested to see how he matures as a man on the basketball court, because he's been a boy on the court the last few years. And I don't mean that in a degrading way, but yeah, he's very young, you know what I'm saying? So being able to be a man on the court, being more of a leader on this team, because you are one of the few cogs that are returning back. So yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see how he plays in January, February, when things start to kind of tighten up and your best is needed more and more. It's cool to have a good preseason game, but we know what's up. We ain't gonna remember this when the preseason's over.
Yeah,
but like
anybody,
go ahead.
Anybody can have a good game, right? It's consistency. Right. Is required to be a good NBA player.
But I'll keep this hype train going. Was Terry Rozier the best player on the floor last night?
Sure, plus 25, 15 points in 23 minutes.
Right,
eight shots. We could
be a little encouraged about that.
He toasted Fultz multiple times. Yeah, I mean, it's encouraging. It's also one game, so let's pump the brakes a little bit. But sure.
You flirt with a triple-double, you get a little love. But once again, as soon as the preseason's over, we're not going to remember this. What did anybody do last year in the preseason? I can't recall. Right. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's keep it in perspective, even though it's Tuesday tirades.
Well, here's my point though. I had a big concern over who was going to be this turn, the team's so-and-so, facilitator. Who's going to be that person that steps up for them when Kyrie and Gordon aren't on the floor at the same time? Somebody has to run the offense. And again, as much as I love Marcus Smart, he's done a really good job of developing that part of his game. He had a play last night on the right wing. Luck did a great job capturing the footage of him just using the yo-yo dribble between the legs, little hesitation move, kick out to Shane Larkin, who missed a three from the left wing. That was brilliant stuff from Marcus, and definitely a step that he needed to take to become a better playmaker.
He had a three on that rebound. I think I know which one you're talking about.
The kick out and a three, right. And then you have Rozier becoming a much better facilitator. A big question mark ahead going into the season. What do the Celtics do at the guard spot when Kyrie is out and they don't throw Hayward out there at the same time? Who is going to initiate the offense for the Celtics? It can't be Al Horford from the center spot. As much as we love Al, he can't do that every play on the floor. It's nice as a gimmick. I was just.
It's more than a gimmick. That's a central part of the Celtics offense.
It works. It's definitely worked a lot better, especially the playoffs. And now with Kyrie and Hayward there, it's fantastic. But I have less reservations about the Celtics running their half-court sets without Kyrie on the floor, without Gordon on the floor. I feel significantly better about that heading into this season because you're not going to be able to play a track meet with everybody. The game's going to slow down, especially in the playoffs, especially towards the end of games. You need guys that can score in the half court to be effective. And Rozier seems to have elevated a little bit. Smart, losing the weight, as much as we want to talk about it all the time. The fact that he still has his vision, can shoot a little better, the floor is more open for him. Just a spectacular development for these two guys. But Rozier, I think, has been probably the biggest surprise from these preseason games, I think. Anybody counter that? Yeah.
No. Maybe Smart. But we heard the reports, but it looks like he has put it a little bit more together. But that should be expected out of third and fourth year players. It's time to make the leap, and it's good that it looks like it's happening.
How many guys drafted in the middle of the first round make a significant leap to a point where he's a nice contributor on a championship contender? I don't know. That doesn't always happen all the time,
Yeah, no, it's looking like a good pick.
Once again, it's just picking the right guy and the right guy that works with what you have going on. Maybe Rozier is that guy. Time will tell. We still don't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be fun to see. It's going to be very fun to see. But I think that also this is the year where they're not behind anyone. You know what I'm saying? There's really nowhere to hide for these guys. So it's you got some young guys behind you in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum who can take your money in the future. You understand what I'm saying? So you got to show what you're worth or you'll be gone. And so that's the thing. It's the lights are on those two guys. The lights are on Smart and Rozier this year to see if they're worth anything.
I think that Smart's starting to really prove his worth Especially, I mean, now as he's a unconscious 3-point shooter with more threes hit on Monday night. But you know what's priceless? Great shoes. You know where you can get great shoes? At Greats.com, the makers of the all-time greats, classic, stylish, and comfortable sneakers that are sold at a great price. Greats is Brooklyn's first sneaker company. They sell all the greats, classic styles, made the best for less. Wide selection of men's and women's shoes, versatile styles, suitable for any occasion. Like, again, I talk about these all the time. They're super comfortable. I'm starting to break them in, but they do go with literally everything. If I want to wear like a cool dinner jacket like this with a pair of jeans, these go. Black suit, these go. Any pair of jeans, so I'm trying to kick it casual, they go. You got to get a pair for yourself. They're super versatile. You can get this pair or a brown pair to be as versatile as humanly possible. Then after that, the world is your oyster. Have fun with fashion colors as much as you want. The best sellers include this one, the lace-up leather Royale, and the Worcester slip-ons. They come in knits as well. Again, if you want to get your sneaker game raised and you want to do it at a good price, go to Greats.com right now and enter the promo code CELTS Roundtable, 15% off your entire purchase. Again, go to Greats.com, Greats.com, pick a pair of these bad boys and get 15% off by using our promo code CELTICS Roundtable. You know, Terry Rozier sort of fits into this other theme I kind of want to touch on, because after 3 preseason games, one of the biggest Achilles heel last year for the Celtics was their lack of rebounding. And through 3 preseason games, I know it's a BS amount of games, and it's like a very small sample size, and everybody's playing everybody. Like the Sixers didn't play Joel Embiid in either game, and the Celtics out-rebounded them. But Boston is out-rebounding their opponent 154 to 140 during the 3 preseason games already. You know, they lost some guys off last year's team, but this has gone from what is a huge weakness to maybe something that's going to be maybe league average. Anybody have any hope at that point?
It's hard to call it, man. You've played two teams, you know, and the Philadelphia 76ers that we've seen are nowhere near a playoff team. So, it's hard to call it. But once again, I'm just not as concerned about the rebounding as most people may be, because we've shown last year that you just got to hang around and be okay. And what I like more so is the turnovers that we're forcing. Like I'm more into that, the fact that we're forcing more turnovers than we're giving away. We're making teams screw up, and I think that's something that can carry over more so than becoming a super rebounding team. But you know, maybe Terry Rozier averaged 9 or 10 boards a game, maybe.
I don't
Maybe
think
not.
That's a little nuts.
No. But
Even was at
wait.
6.8 last year.
Here, let me say this. That's what I'm saying. Maybe the system will allow Terry Rozier to be like a guy that can pull down at least 8 boards or somewhere like.
He's going to have to play like 30 minutes, though, in order to get there. I do think that the Celtics could.
Feat, though.
What were the Celtics, like 28th last year?
They were
in
awful.
Rebounding.
It doesn't matter the number; they were terrible. They were just terrible.
Okay, I would expect them to be better this year. They're just a bigger team overall. Right. They lost Amir Johnson, but they got it. Aaron Baines, but they're huge. They're stocked at 6'8" guys. They got like 5 or 6'8" guys who are going to get minutes this year. Tatum's a plus rebounder probably. Guys tend to be good rebounders at the start of their career. Yabusele should be a plus rebounder. It'd be weird if he wasn't. I think that the Celtics could get up to league average. But I also agree with Zaire. It's like as long as you hang around in the rebounding battle, the Celtics' strengths are going to put them over the top.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. Okay. I got a question. Okay, Jaylen Brown. Have you guys liked the way Jaylen Brown has played this preseason?
I liked him last night because I thought he was a little more aggressive. I think with like certain lineups, he's more aggressive when he's with like Marcus and Terry and Jason together versus when he plays with the starters. I think he tries to play a role that Brad wants him to do, like, okay, fill the gaps in the offense, move when you're supposed to move, slide when you're supposed to slide. If you have an open jump shot, take it. If not, attack. If you can't do that, kick it back out. We'll move it around. I think he does that pretty well. But I thought against Philly, he did a much better job kind of hunting for a shot and like going down to the low post and trying to work down there. Because against smaller guys, if he's going to play 2-guard, he's going to be the taller guy most of the time. And if he can, back a guy down and use his size, speed, and quickness and strength to get either by guys, through guys, finish through that contact, he's going to be a much better player. Like I thought against Philly, took a couple of big and ones. I think there was 2 in that game where it looked like he was going to younger Jaylen would have been stonewalled there, and he would have missed it, and you go to the line and then miss both free throws. But this time, finishes through the contact, goes to the line, knocks that one down. I like what I'm seeing. Like his handle can be erratic at times. Again, he's only 20 years old, but I think some of the how he fits on the court, he's starting to figure that out a little bit better.
It's always been a turnover machine. You just got to give this guy time, Zay. Like I know where you're going. Like with this.
Wait. Let me go somewhere real fast. Okay. I asked that because the guy's shooting 11 for 28 this preseason. He hasn't hit a 3 yet. Okay. If Jaylen Brown's offense has regressed, let's really because it may be true. Like the guy's shooting percentage, he shot way better than we thought he would have last year. Okay. Like no one would have said Jaylen Brown is going to shoot nearly 45%. No one would have said that, right?
Right.
So how he's shooting now is how we probably would have guessed he would have shot last year, right? So, for example, if he goes into this season and his offense, his shots are not falling, and I don't think Jaylen Brown's offense is as important as his defense. That's in my opinion. But if his offense just isn't there and he's turning the ball over, he can't hit a free throw for crap, and he's not knocking down any of his open shots, okay? Then if Terry Rozier has improved, and this is a big if, but if he has improved, then does Terry Rozier get those minutes? And then you move, let's say, a Gordon Hayward to the 3, and you give Terry Rozier the minutes that Jaylen Brown would have been getting, and you work it with smart Kyrie Rozier with the guards, and give him more playing time, and then he can get those rebounds that I was talking about. Like
this is a definite Tuesday tirade take right here. This is fantastic. I don't know if that would ever happen. I don't think you're going to see, if anybody's taking Jaylen's minutes, it's probably going to be Smart. I mean, Rozier might eat into that, but I think Brad and everybody else on the same page. Like Jaylen has to play. And I think Jaylen wants to prove that he's going to be this lockdown defender that everybody kind of expects him to be. He's been okay defensively, like he hasn't been like Tony Allen out there, but he's been, and everybody wants to like shudder at that comparison. He hasn't been like outrageous good at defense, but he's been very good. He's been solid, definitely above average, definitely one of the better defensive players the Celtics have right now. I have a hard time seeing at any point during this season Terry Rozier eating into Jaylen Brown's minutes at all. I think they've more invested, I think, in Jaylen Brown than they do in Terry Rozier.
Smart's going to get those minutes anyway. You see what I'm saying? Like, Smart's going to get those minutes. My point is, though, is if Jaylen isn't working with the offense and he isn't this crazy lockdown defender, he's expendable this year. You know what I'm saying? He's expendable. And if Terry Rozier is going to give you half of what he gave you tonight on a regular basis, then you got to consider some things. And
I don't know if trading Jaylen Brown at this point in his career.
No. I'm not saying trading. I'm not saying trading. I'm saying that his minutes are sacrificed for a more productive, more efficient player. Because I don't want a Jaylen Brown out there shooting 38, 39%. I don't want that. Like that's not good for the Celtics. That's not helpful unless he is just so locked down on defense and he's forcing so many turnovers where it's like, dude, okay, take 3 or 4 shots a game and we'll live with that or what, But okay, defensive Jaylen Brown and a bad shooting Jaylen Brown is a worthless Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, he might not be a good player this year. I have no idea if he's going to be good or not. I do think that you got to give this guy time. He's still very raw. He came into the league very raw. It was going to take him a couple years to really put things together, maybe longer. Hopefully he can make strides this season. His shooting might regress a little bit. I don't know. Brad Stevens has emphasized that Jaylen Brown becoming this lockdown defender. I don't know if he's got that in him in his second year in the NBA. We'll see. I do think that his minutes could fluctuate based on his play. I don't think that they're ever going to go away, even if he, is a net negative again this year. So temper your expectations. He's going to get some minutes, but maybe you're onto something a little bit there, Zaire.
I have a hard time. Like, they've obviously pumped him up a little bit. I mean, they told him, during before they traded Isaiah Thomas, like while they were doing it, to be ready. Like, we need you to be a much better player than you currently are. Like, I think they're willing to jump, like, in the to risk this potentially with Jaylen Brown, because they're like, okay, this guy, we see flashes of it. It's just more playing time and like committing to him, and and is that going to be what he needs from us to really get to where he wants to go? Like, there's a lot of people out there that have the idea that like Jason Tatum this year might be better than Jaylen Brown is. I don't think so, but Tatum's defensively like pretty again further along than what I would have expected at this point from a guy like that. But I think Jaylen Brown, with the way he's been able to do the little things that have been able to get him playing time on the court last year, it's just going to bode well for this year. He knows what he has to do, and then once he gets more comfortable with that, I mean, you have to remember, like, this is a new team for Jaylen, too. He's only in his second year, and he's playing with a whole new group of guys, basically, when he plays. So it's not like, I don't expect him to be totally comfortable right now. Again, I think that date of, like, January that you talked about with Rozier, I think that's an important one for Jaylen, too. By the time you hit December, January, what Jaylen Brown are we talking about? And if he's a guy making impact plays on both ends of the floor, like I think he can, I think you're talking about a player that everybody's going to be salivating over, like we already are, but like even more than that.
I think he's going to start. I think with Marcus Smart, being willing to come off the bench, to me that signals that Jaylen Brown is, penned to start at the 2. So he's going to get that chance.
By no means is this to say that Jaylen Brown will not be a good NBA player. I'm just saying for the sake of this year, and with what you're trying to do this year, I do believe that this team is they're going to make their goal is to make a run for a championship. Whether they win it or not is one thing, but I think this year more than any other year in the past 5, it's been about winning the championship. And if Jaylen Brown is not producing, I think he's, like I said, his minutes are expendable, and Jason Tatum is going to get some of those minutes. And I think Jason Tatum is going to be ready for those minutes. Once again, Terry Rozier, he's a hungry guy, and he seems to be one of those guys that doesn't care whose minutes he takes. Like, because he said he wants all the minutes. He said that last year. You know what I'm saying? So it'll be an interesting type of thing. Usually we talked about James Young and R.J. Hunter, but in this case, these are minutes that count. So I'm just ready to see, because there's some eye-opening things. Like, once again, he's not a good free throw shooter. He isn't the best shooter from different spots on the floor. Everybody talks about Jaylen Brown hitting shots from the side. I've been hearing that like the last 2 weeks from everybody. And I'm like, okay, so you mean to tell me it's not a smart coach out there that's going to go, don't let Jaylen Brown shoot an open shot from the side? Like, whatever you do, don't give him that open shot. Like, he's just going to be out there just popping them all night. It's not happening like that. So he's got to figure out other ways to score, or, it's going to be a situation. Or just focus on being Bruce Bowen and just be the best defender ever.
That's all it takes. That's all you got to do. Just either hit some shots or be Bruce Bowen. That's it. It's that simple for Jaylen Brown. That's it. And with that, we got to end this Tuesday Tyrant edition of Celtics Roundtable on CLNS Media. If you're watching us on YouTube, what's up? Make sure you hit that like button right below here and subscribe to CLNS Media. If you listen to us on the go, subscribe to our podcast network, the CLNS Media Network, or you can subscribe to the Boston Celtics news feed, which is available on your favorite podcast app, iTunes, Stitcher, or you can download the CLNS Radio app. Follow us on Twitter at CLNS Radio. We're going to be talking pretty soon, little tease for you, with our good buddy, Coach Nick of B-Ball Breakdown. We're going to break down the Celtics offense for you. We're going to talk about some certain things in terms of what was worked, what hasn't worked, so on and so forth. This on 4 preseason games should be a lot of fun. And more content is coming from us, the Roundtable crew, on CLNS Media. So for Matt Ignal, for Zaire, I'm Evan Valenti. Today's show brought to you by Greats, GREATS.com. The shoes there are killer. Use our promo code Celtics Roundtable for 15% off your total purchase. We'll see you guys next time.